We are now live. Hey, playa. Welcome to another live stream here on my channel. For those of you that don't know, my name is Josh, and every single week I make videos sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. And in this live stream, I'm going to be walking you through 5 stressful situations that you need to know how to handle in life. These are different things that are going to come up at different points in your life. Hopefully, you don't experience all of them at once, but it's important to know how to manage these situations because let's face it, guys, stress can beat you down. It can make you feel horrible. So I want to walk you through different questions you can ask yourself along the way when you do encounter these situations to help better prepare you for it, to help you kind of manage that stress and feel better about how you process that situation. But before I get into that, I want to give shout outs to all the early birds here in the chat. So if you're someone that's jumping in for the first time or you're a regular on the live streams, jump in, say hello. I want to hear from you guys. It's not popping up. I got to figure out why it doesn't always show. Either way, we're here, guys. I'll just call you out. Oh, there we go. Now it's popping in. Let's give shout out to all the early birds here in the chat. Let's see who we got in here. Hamish K. Hamish, I think you're the very first person to join, dude. So happy to have you in here. Let's see. Jalen's in here. Haley, good to have you, Haley. I hope everything's going well. Hit me up. Let me know. We'll talk again soon. We'll catch up. Juan Speaks. Good to have you, Juan. Parker Jones. Alex Burns. Everglow's in here. How's it going, dude? Flame 081. Flame 081. Nigel Williams. Good to have you, Nigel. Yancey Cobian. Rage Master's in here. Carter Maples. Dave Video Studio. Let's see. Azim the Dream. Azim says it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Speaking of that, Azim, I will share some breaking news that I just found out that Fred Rogers' wife, Joanne, just passed away. I forgot how old she was, but she was pretty old, I think into her late 80s or so. So, it's a sad moment and stuff. But her and her husband have done so much to help so many people. So I appreciate all that she's given, in her life to helping others. Let's see who else we got here. Alexander Cole, Jalen Richardson, Victoria Lambert. Good to have you, Victoria. Let's see. I think I covered everyone. Red Lightning. Red Lightning says, "What's up, ladies? Good to have you in here, Aubrey. Always a pleasure, man." But yeah, got Ashley Foding is in here. Allegro Cuber is in here as well. Jalen says 92. Yeah, I think she was in her 90s, actually, not even in her 80s. But happy to have all of you guys in here. Now, as I walk through this live stream, make sure to hit the thumbs up button as we go along if you haven't already, guys. Now, before I cover these 5 points here, if you have a burning question, this is something that's on your mind that you want to talk to me about, you just need my opinion, need an answer from me right now, you can always use the super chat function. I treat those super chats like burning questions, so I will stop what I'm talking about. I will answer your question directly. It's also a good way to support the channel if you enjoy what I do and you enjoy the live stream as we go along, guys. So, without further ado, let's start moving forward here. I want to kind of walk you through what I mean when I talk about stressful situations here. I got some cool graphics, so I got to show them up. Let me pull them up here, guys. So stress is something that all of us deal with, right? We all have different moments of stress in our life. And, it's just something we kind of experience, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed by it. Sometimes we feel like we can manage it. So how does stress affect our body? Let's think about that first here. Well, when you encounter situations of stress, what ends up happening is that your body produces the chemical called cortisol. Cortisol is the fight or flight hormone, right? So whenever you are dealing with stress from issues you're running into with the family members, or maybe you're suffering from something health-wise, maybe you're in a bad relationship, or you just had a bad experience in a relationship, maybe you're obsessed with social media and you find yourself comparing yourself to others a lot, maybe the political atmosphere going on right now is just too much for you and it's super stressful. All these different types of situations produce cortisol in the brain. Now, cortisol is created to help us feel prepared in a situation. The body will produce cortisol to help us kind of get into this fight or flight mode so that we can feel ready and prepared to deal with whatever's our way, right? Maybe if this was back in the caveman days, our bodies would produce cortisol to help us run away from a saber-tooth tiger. But in today's day and age, we still produce cortisol for these different levels of stress points. Now, your body producing cortisol is a good thing and helps us feel prepared for these situations. But when we're constantly overwhelmed with stress, when we're constantly encountering situations that make us feel like we can't manage them, we don't know what to do, we just feel totally burdened by them, we can experience high levels of cortisol in the body. The body produces a way higher number than we can really manage. Now I want to jump into those high levels, but first I want to say thank you, Hamish, for the £5 super chat, man. I really appreciate it. Let me pull it up here. Should pop up in a second or so, but Hamish, thank you for the £5 super chat. Hamish said, I'm stressed out because I'm still waiting for my next therapy session. Also, can we talk on Hangout soon? Yeah, Hamish, definitely. I noticed on YouTube, on the YouTube membership, it said you're no longer a member. So I don't know if you want to renew that, but hit me up, man. We can talk. I know you're stressed out because you're waiting for your next therapy session. If you want to jump into the chat, how long in between them do you have scheduled? Do you do it once a month? Do you do it once a week? Once every 2 weeks? What's your kind of process right now for that? But Hamish, definitely, I'd love to jump on and chat with you, man, and catch up. It's been a while. I'm super excited you're part of the community, man. I appreciate all that you do. Thank you for the £5 super chat, man. And we'll catch up soon. Okay, so as you guys saw in that chart, your body produces cortisol whenever it's dealing with stress. So what happens when it starts producing so much cortisol that you feel, overwhelmed? Well, this is what tends to happen. Having high levels of cortisol can lead to a lot of different issues. It can lead to high anxiety. It can lead to weight gain. It can lead to lethargy, which is you feeling tired and sluggish, lots of different muscle pains, depression, headaches, acne. All these different things can be the result of dealing with high levels of cortisol. So when we are overwhelmed with stress, when we feel like, we're dealing with stress outside of our normal daily fluctuation of what we're dealing with at a normal level, we end up running into this problem. We end up running into this challenge where our bodies start to go into this kind of negative area where we're dealing with all these other issues. So how can we manage our stress better? How can we deal with stressful situations in a way where we won't feel overwhelmed, or at least we'll have a better way of maintaining that and controlling it? So I want to walk you through that, guys. But I will say this. Let's start off with the chat poll because I definitely want to know where you guys stand. I want to know where you guys are coming from here. Let me just pull it up. Let's get a chat poll going here. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say your normal daily stress level is like? Now, that could be however you define that stress level, but what do you feel that your stress level is at? If I had to answer that question myself, I would say my stress level can range. Sometimes it's about a 5, so I feel like I'm managing average stress, but then sometimes it does feel like it jumps to a 10. There are times where everything kind of overlaps on top of each other and I just feel overwhelmed in those moments and I have to kind of reorder and organize myself. But I'd say on average, I'm dealing with maybe a 5 or 6 day to day in terms of stress. Where do you guys stand in terms of your stress level on a scale of 1 to 10? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Let's jump in and see what some of you guys are saying here. Alex Burns says that he is dealing with about an 8 as a stress level. So Alex, it sounds like you're more on the higher end there. Jalen says about a 2. Red Lightning says a lot of zeros to that one zillion or whatever it is. So Arby, it sounds like you're dealing with a high amount of stress. If you want, jump into the chat, Arby, and maybe write out some things that you feel like you're dealing with stress-wise. Haley says like a solid 5. Is that 5 point or 5? 5.368. Yeah, I'd say a 5.368 seems about a little bit more than average, but pretty average. Hamish says 10. Hamish, sounds like you have a lot of stress in your life, man. Dark Tar says about a 6. Jalen says 6. Alexander Cole says 1. Oh, Red Lightning's kidding. He says 5. Okay, so you're dealing with a pretty average amount of stress. Bean says my stress level is about 5 or 10. Hey, Emma, good to have you in here. It's been a while. Nigel says 1. Alexander Cole 2. Tariq says it depends, but mostly a 5 or a 4. Okay, so pretty average there. Azim says, I feel like I stress about always trying to find value in something, such as a hobby for the sake of just hobby. But I don't want anyone to feel it is worthless. That's a really interesting point, Azim. I'm actually going to cover that later on as I get through these different stressful situations. So definitely stay tuned because that's definitely one of them I'm going to cover. Yancey says, Josh, what I do when Haley never responds to my DM? She responded once, but she deleted before I could read it. She deleted my comments when I talked to her. Yeah, it's possible that maybe she doesn't feel comfortable, which might be why she deleted it. If you want, shoot me a DM and we'll talk. Voldy, I always get that wrong, says 6. Everglow says about a 40. Man, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot. Let's see, 9.5, 10, around 5 to 7, 6 to 7. Allegro says sometimes 10 just depends on the day. Yeah, guys. It sounds like some of you are dealing with high levels of stress, and then some of you are dealing with more moderate, more average levels of stress. But I think one thing that we all can take away from this is that we're all dealing with stress to some degree, right? It's something that we're kind of living with and we're managing. So I want to walk you through 5 stressful situations that you might encounter and how to kind of prepare yourself for them, the different types of questions you can ask to help prepare you better. So let's jump into the first stressful situation. By the way, if you are dealing with the stressful situation that maybe I don't address, or it's something related to but slightly different, feel free to definitely jump into the chat and be a part of the conversation. You know, it's not just me sharing my perspective. I want each of you guys to also feel like, well, you have to say matters on these streams as well. So if you have a story, if you have an experience, or you have an outlook on something that differs from mine, or you just want to add to it, feel free to jump into the chat and share that. The more voices we have, I think the more we can learn and grow. Okay, let's jump into the first one here, guys, and that's going to be this. The first stressful situation that you might encounter is failing at something you've worked hard on. Now, this can range in a lot of different ways. This can be trying really hard to study for an exam and getting a bad grade, or wanting to apply to a college but maybe getting rejected, or maybe even starting a YouTube channel and feeling, starting a YouTube channel and feeling like it's not growing like you want it to. You know, failing is something that can hit us incredibly hard. It can make us question our self-worth. It can make us question the time we've spent doing something. It can make us question whether or not we are just oblivious to the obvious that we're a failure and we just should stop trying. But when you encounter a situation like this where you're failing at something you're working on, or that you worked hard on, that can be incredibly stressful. That can make you feel like just overwhelmed by the fact that you put your all into something and you didn't get back what you were expecting. And that's super stressful to deal with. And, you know, I've encountered that lots and lots of times. I've shared with you guys in the past how when I was in college, I almost failed out of college, right? I almost failed out of college because, you know, when I first had my first semester of school, I took physics and I took computer programming, and I just sucked in those classes. These weren't my strong suits. So I ended up getting I think I got an F in physics, and I think I got a D in computer science, and I was put on academic probation in school. Now, being put on academic probation means that you have lower than a 2.0 GPA, and that was my first semester. I had a 1.2 GPA, and it meant that if I didn't raise my GPA to above a 2, I would get kicked out of the school. And that was super stressful for me. I was trying my hardest, and I just felt like things weren't working out. Now, before I get into kind of the questions you can ask, I'm going to jump in with the chat poll here, guys. You know, the first situation is failing at something you've tried hard at. Do you feel like you've ever failed at something that you tried really hard at, whether that was passing an exam, starting a YouTube channel, going after something you wanted in life, and it just didn't work out for you? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Share your experiences, maybe things that you guys have struggled with or are not done as well in as you would have liked to. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say on that. But yeah, I mean, Jalen says C gets degrees. Yeah, I mean, if only I had gotten a C or higher, but because I got a D, man, my confidence was just shot, you know? Take a quick water break. Haley says, yes, academic probation. They give you a nice little fancy ankle bracelet. Trinity says yes, 100%. Alex Burns says yes. Flame says yes. Hamish says yes. Juan says kinda. Azim says struggling with staying consistent on YouTube. I hear you on that, man. Dark Tar says yeah, calculus, and also my YouTube channel. It's failed in 2020. I'm sorry to hear that, man. If you want, shoot me a DM and I can try to help you come up with some ideas on how to revive it. Anthony says, I feel like I failed at making a YouTube channel, but I'm starting over and trying harder making content. Awesome, man. Dude, keep that channel going, dude. I think you're going to have to make 20 or 30 or 40 videos before you really get into your groove. It takes time. Nick, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate it. Nick says, if your crush has rejected you in the past, do you think it's possible to try again in the future? I think that's a really, really important question. I personally think it is entirely possible, and here's why. If your crush rejected you, one potential outcome is that they're just not attracted to you. They don't like you. Okay, you have no control over that. That's just how they feel. That's that. But another potential outcome might be that maybe you didn't do enough to kind of show them that you're someone worth dating. Maybe you were too nervous. Maybe you were more hesitant. Maybe you got in the friend zone. There's a lot of other factors. It's not as simple as black or white. They like you or they don't like you, right? People can grow to like you once they get to know your personality, or they may see you in a different light and go, wow, you've changed over the years. And that's the angle I think you can probably work on, right? So if you ask someone out and they tell you, no, I'm not interested, not really, I don't really like you, that's okay. You then have to decide, do you want to maintain being friends with them, or do you want to kind of go off and do your own thing? I think if you still like them, your best bet is to go off and do your own thing. And in that time where you're doing your own thing, work on yourself. Pick up new hobbies, exercise, eat healthy, go to sleep early. Just take care of your body as best as you can, so that you feel good about yourself. And just work on your confidence skills. Talk to different people that you like. Put yourself out there. Join different social circles. The more you can kind of socialize and put yourself out there and learn and gain experience, the easier it's going to be, so that if you do, let's say, just happen to run to your crush again in the future, they're going to look at you and go, wow, you've really grown over the years. There's something different about you. There's a confidence there. There's this energy and excitement that I didn't see before. Now, like I said, if they didn't like you in the beginning and they just didn't like you and that's that, okay, that's that. But you give yourself a second chance by really working on improving yourself there. So that's what I think you could really focus on, Nick. The question ends up being, what can you do to feel more confident about yourself for the second time around? Thank you for the $5 super chat, Nick. I really appreciate it. I want to jump in here and share with you guys some questions that I think are important to ask if you feel like you're failing at something that you're working really hard on. These are some questions that I think are so important to ask yourself, guys. Oh, Nick says, I actually have changed over the years, less nervous, less hesitant. That's awesome, Nick. I'm proud of you, man. The only thing that's the same is that I'm still in the friend zone. Yeah. I think to get out of that friend zone, you're going to have to kind of distance yourself from your crush. Give them a bit of space so that they can grow to miss you when you come around the second time. But guys, these are important questions I think you can ask yourself here. When it comes to dealing with the stress of failing at something you like, ask yourself this: where did I start to experience the most trouble? A lot of times, stress is a snowball, right? Stress starts to build as we go through life. And I think that if you ask yourself, you know what, maybe I was feeling super stressed out when it came to the creation stage of my YouTube channel, and I was getting stressed out at the idea of what videos to make. Or maybe I was getting stressed out because people weren't watching my videos. Or maybe I got stressed out because I waited till the last minute to study for that exam. Another question is, who can I reach out to for assistance or help? When you're struggling with something, when you're having trouble at school or at work or on a project or whatever it is, it's so important to reach out to others for help. Look, we don't know everything there is to know. There are people out there with more knowledge and more experience that they can pass down to us. So reaching out to someone, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a friend or a parent, and asking them, hey, is there any way that you can help me out here, or you can take a look at what I'm doing and tell me where I'm missing that step? That might be a way to lessen that stress. Third question, how can I process my feelings in a healthy way? Guys, when you're experiencing that stress, a lot of times that stress overwhelms us, and it can lead to a lot of bad habits. It can lead to nail biting. It can lead to staying up really late, not sleeping. It can lead to not eating healthy. When you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling stressed out, ask yourself, what can I do to process these feelings in a healthy way? What are some healthy habits I can try to take on to help me better balance that stress? Fourth question here is, do I need to take a break before I start again? If you're struggling in what you're doing, if you're feeling overwhelmed by what you're doing, it's important to take a break. It's important to take a second to say, you know what? Let me cool down. Let me pull back from this thing. Going deeper into it isn't going to help me better understand it. Maybe I need a bit of space so that when I reapproach it, I feel a little bit more prepared for it. So those are 4 questions I want you to think about when you feel stressed out about the things that you're struggling with, that you're trying your best to do, but you're failing at. And it should pump up in a second here, but Azim, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Azim says, if I ever ran into my old crush, part of me will feel like harping on the past, and the other part doesn't want either one of us to harp. Any tips? That's a really good question, Azim. Look, when you see your crush again, when you talk to your crush again after that long absence of not interacting with them, those old feelings are going to come back up, right? Just because you work on yourself and you grow doesn't mean that the memories and the experiences you have with a person disappear. The question ends up becoming, are you going to allow those memories and feelings to dictate your new behaviors, to dictate your new interactions? It's okay to feel the way that you do, to feel like you want to harp on the past, but how you choose to act doesn't have to be a reflection of how you feel in that instance. So you may feel like, I want to ask them why they didn't like me then. I want to ask them this, I want to ask them that. But you may be better off saying, you know what? Let me show them the new me. Let me focus on that. And if they're still thinking about me from high school and they're still thinking about the old me, let me give them a reason to like the new me, to see the new me. So Zine, when you find yourself thinking about those things, tell yourself this straight up. I don't have to act on my feelings there. I don't have to speak to those feelings. I can feel them, I can acknowledge them, but I can act differently. So thank you so much for the $5 super chat, Azim. I really appreciate it. Guys, I know that it can be incredibly tough to deal with re-encountering someone from the past, re-encountering someone that didn't like us or someone that didn't give us a chance. And that kind of leads into the second stressful situation here, which is this: getting rejected or broken up with. I think maybe some of the reasons why the questions coming in are, the super chats coming in are how to kind of get back with someone that rejected you the first time around, or how to make that work. I think because getting rejected or being broken up with are super, super stressful activities, right? Let's take the first one, getting rejected there. Let's say you like someone and you want to be with them and you want to do everything you can to talk to them, but they turn you down, or they're just not interested, or maybe even they laugh at you when you ask them out. That can create a lot of stress because it can make you question your self-worth. Are you ugly? Are you not cool enough? Are you boring? Are you annoying? All these questions start to flood your mind, and that creates a lot of stress. And like I said before, when you have a lot of stress, that means high cortisol development, and it can lead to a lot of other problems. Or even being broken up with. I know some of you guys have had to deal with breakups before. It sucks. I think we can all agree on that, right? Even when you're breaking up with someone that you feel is the right move to make, it's still a sucky feeling to go through, right? So I think that it's important to recognize that these situations, getting rejected and being broken up, will cause stress. The question though is this. The question is, how do we manage that stress when we encounter it? So I want to do a chat poll here and ask you guys, you can jump in yes or no. Have you ever felt stressed out from getting rejected or being broken up with? Has it ever created stress in your life? I mean, looking back at my past relationships, when I was dating my second girlfriend, and I did a video on it, I'll link it up over here in the replay, guys. When I was dating my second girlfriend, even though I knew breaking up with her was the right move, I still felt stressed out because what it meant was changing my life. I had built up this life where I talked to her every day, we interacted, we saw each other, but I knew that I was taking a different road, which meant that I wouldn't have those safeties that I built in, that safety net and that comfort. So getting rejected or being broken up with, or even vice versa, rejecting someone or breaking up with someone can create a lot of stress. So I asked you guys here, have you ever, felt stressed out from getting rejected or being broken up with? Here's what you guys had to say. DS Kuber says yes. Annie Smith says yes. DS Cooper says, I'm definitely not cool enough and not very handsome. This is just who I am. How can I change this? That's a really good point, DS Cooper. I'm going to address that actually as I move through the stressful situations, but I'll get to that in a second here, guys. I want to jump in. Hamish, I'm going to answer your question in a second. I just want to see here. Trinity says yes. Tariq says yes, super stressful. Jalen says, yeah, a lot of my crushes, even my main one. Music Man says, I'm here for you, Alex. Awesome. That's awesome. Carter says, yeah. I'm seeing yeah across the board, guys. Everglow says, I haven't been rejected properly in a long time, but my heart is so broken right now from indirect rejection. I hear where you're coming from on that. Yeah, it's hard, man. Scott says, hurts like a ton at first, but it gets easier as the days go on. I agree. One of the best cures for emotional pain is time, in my opinion. I couldn't agree with you more, Scott. I think you nailed it on the head there. keep pressing all the wrong buttons. Let's get Hamish's question up here. Hamish, thank you for the £5 super chat. I really appreciate it. Hamish said, I had a best friend in primary school who came around to my house when I was 5 years old, who went back to Syria. I've never seen him. That was so sad. Yeah, Hamish, it's incredibly hard losing someone, a friend that you care about, having to say goodbye to someone after you spend such fond memories with them. I think that one thing we can try to do if we can is that, look, in this day and age, it's easier to find people online. So Hamish, is there any way that you can reach out to that person on Instagram or Facebook? Can you search up their name? Do you have any mutual friends in common that you can maybe look them up? Try to reconnect with that friend. See if you can rebuild that bond. Because I know, there's a bunch of people from elementary school that I'm friends with on Facebook, and I talk to every so often. It feels good to stay connected with people that I grew up with. So I would recommend that to you too, Hamish. Try to reach out to that person if you can. And if you can't find them online, not everyone is online. If you can't find them online, try to think back to the memories that you had. Maybe if there's a picture of you guys together, or maybe you want to write in a journal about some of the memories you had with them. Those are definitely good ways to kind of reflect on those experiences that you had with that really, really close friend of yours. Thank you for the £5 super chat, Hamish. Really appreciate it there. I'm seeing Vicky's saying yes. Juan Speaks says yes. Let's see. Rage Master says, I feel like that I need to limit social media because social media can somehow cause stress easily. I think Josh should make a video about limiting social media. Rage Master, you are on the money. I am totally going to make that video. I have it on my list because I do think it is important to take breaks from social media. I want to kind of also explain in that video why, the benefit of taking those breaks from social media, and how we give our... The thing is, it's like when we are constantly overwhelmed with distraction, we're always doing something. We don't allow ourselves to be in the present moment. And when you're not in the present moment, it's a lot easier to slip into thought of the past or thought of the future. So it's harder to practice a sense of gratitude for what you have because you're never focusing on what's here and now. Social media is the tip of the iceberg, and it goes a lot deeper into really just feeling connected with who you are. So I'm definitely going to make that video, and I'm going to explain the benefits and why we all need to give up social media a lot more in our lives. Matthew says, yes, I finally caught the stream. Awesome, Matthew. Happy to have you on board, man. But yeah, guys, let's jump into the questions you can ask if you are dealing with a bad breakup or you're someone that got rejected to help manage that stress. Here are questions you can ask yourself. Am I directing my aggression at the other person? A lot of times when you are rejected by someone, you get upset with them. Maybe you call them a name. Maybe you make fun of them. Maybe you belittle them. You say they're a jerk, they're mean, they're this, they're that, because you're feeling angry and you don't know how to deal with those angry feelings. So a lot of the stress is tied to that anger. If you can ask yourself, whoa, am I directing my anger at this person? Am I getting angry at them because they don't agree with me on the idea that we should be together? That can help you manage the stress better, just by noticing and acknowledging what you're feeling. Second is, where do I start to feel things were going wrong? Look, a lot of the stress of getting rejected comes from the high expectation of what you want. But if you take those steps back and you say, you know what? Did I talk to them enough? Did I flirt with them enough? Did I present myself in an attractive way? Was I confident when I spoke to them? Asking those questions can help you start to manage that stress better, because you're going to start to see, you know what? I could do that better next time. I should work on that a little bit more. I can try that. Third question, what step did I feel the most nervous about? Identifying where in the process you feel nervous can also help manage that stress. Look, it can be super stressful. Just the idea of walking up to someone and asking them out is stressful. So if that's where you're struggling, that process of actually going for it and asking them out, recognizing where you're stressed out is also going to help you kind of feel like you have a better handle on it. Rather than just saying, I want to ask out this girl, but I don't know, I'm just stressed out overall. If you tell yourself, I just don't know what to talk to her about, hey, I can go look online. I can look up some ideas of things to talk about. I can check out Josh's 20 icebreakers and maybe I'll try those. Fourth question is, should I try to pursue someone new or take a break? This is going to be a common theme. You guys are going to notice that when you're stressed out about something, sometimes the best thing you can do is to take a step back from it. So if you ask someone out and they reject you and you feel stressed out, take a step back. Maybe tell yourself, you know what? Maybe right now I'm not going to pursue anyone else. I'm just going to focus on doing my hobbies, playing video games, relaxing, focusing on school. That can help manage the stress because you're taking that stressful activity of having to date someone off the plate at least temporarily, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Brian Plays Games, thank you so much for the $2 donation, man. I really, really appreciate it. He said, hey, you. And Azim, thank you for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate it, man. Azim says, we constantly say not to act like you're better than anyone else. But do you think deep down everyone has the desire to be better than better than the other person? Azim, you are on the money again with your question here. I'm going to address that as I get through these stressful situations. But I think all of us compare ourselves to others. We all do it, right? Anyone who says they don't is a liar. The reason why we compare ourselves to others is because we see something that we want to aspire to do. The problem, though, is that instead of observing someone that we're aspiring to be like and saying, what did they do to get there? What can I do to get there? What are my limitations? What are my opportunities? And really focusing on that, we just focus on their success and we focus on our lack of success. So we do that level of comparison rather than unraveling. It's almost like you're looking at a banana, but you haven't peeled it to see, whether it's ripe inside. You need to see whether something is ripe in order to determine whether you can eat it, right? This analogy has kind of gone sideways, but to the question, we constantly say not to act like you're better than anyone else. I think the truth of the matter is that no one is, in this larger sense, better than anyone else, right? At the end of the day, we're all people. And we're all deserving of love, care, kindness. We're all deserving of that. Some people make it hard to offer that, right? Because they may be mean or they may create a situation where you can't and it's not easy and there isn't a flow there. And that's separate. But I think that you should never aspire to be better than anyone else because this concept of better is just your own ego speaking. What we should aspire to do is offer the best that we can. It isn't a matter of being better than someone else. It's being the best that we can. The only person that you can properly compare yourself to, is yourself. Because you can only compare yourself to where you were the day before, and that to the day before, and that to the day before. Everyone else has their own journey, their own experiences, and their own outcomes in life. So comparing yourself isn't going to carry you forward. It's actually going to hold you back. Okay, thank you, Brian, for the $2 super chat. Thank you, Azim, for the $5 super chat. Let's jump into the third point here. This is the third stressful situation that you might encounter that I want to help you guys think about and find a way to process. And that's going to be this. Feeling hopeless and directionless. I've spoken to a number of you guys on Instagram and through Discord and a lot of different places, and I see this come up a lot. The sense of feeling hopeless or directionless. Now, this doesn't have to be as so I'm not saying oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. To some degree, that might be it, but maybe it's in a small step. Maybe it's, hey, you know what? I don't know if I should really go to college. I don't know if college is right for me. Or, you know what? I don't really like anything enough to want to do it as a career or to study it in school. There's nothing that I really care about, and I just feel like I don't know where I'm going. I'm living day to day. Just nothing feels fulfilling. Yep, perfect. I'm glad you brought up that quote, Rage Master. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, and the most important thing is everyone has their own time. Absolutely, absolutely. Love that quote by JP. But guys, if you're feeling hopeless and directionless, a big part of that might be tied to some of the things I'm going to share in a second, but I think it's, not knowing what you want to do with your life or where you want to go or what tomorrow should be like can be incredibly stressful. You can feel like you're just living day to day. You don't really know where it's going, and that creates stress. A lot of people, I think, can fall into a sense of depression just from not having stability, right? Think about the coronavirus. Think about how it's affected so many people. Think about how many people have fallen into depression and have dealt with anxiety and are under a lot of stress because they've lost their job or they've lost their normal routines of seeing friends and being out and about, or they just can't go to school and have that socialization that they want. Feeling directionless and hopelessness is totally akin to being stressed out. So if you are in that boat where you don't really know what you want to do with your life right now and it's causing stress, here are 4 questions you can ask yourself to help better prepare you for dealing with those feelings. Actually, before I get into these, if you guys can read them there, I want to do a chat poll because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you feel, or have you ever felt like you were hopeless or you didn't really know what you wanted to do or directionless in life? Do you ever feel like you were just kind of stumbling along and you didn't really know how you wanted to carry yourself forward? I feel like I felt like that in college, right? And I talked about how I almost fell out of college, but at the same time, I felt that exact feeling. I was questioning what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study, and who I wanted to be. I felt like I didn't really know. I was like, do I want to do computer science? Do I want to do something else? Those questions were just stuck in my mind. I was just constantly thinking about them, constantly worried about like where I was going to go from there. So I've been there before, and I want to know if you guys have ever felt that before. If you ever felt like I'm not sure where life is taking me right now. Let's hear what you guys had to say. Cheesy says, yeah, it used to be like that when I was 13 or 14, but I started being more outgoing and it really helped. That's awesome advice, Cheesy. Yeah, look, definitely being more outgoing and putting yourself out there more, trying new things is definitely going to help you start to feel like there's a direction for you. DS Cooper says, yes, I felt like I was just living last summer. I hear you on that. Nige says, yes. Yancey says, hey, Josh, what do I do when someone laughs at my hair color? Yancey, if someone laughs at your hair color, they're just being a jerk, man. Your hair color is whatever color. If it's a natural hair color, it's what you're born with. If it's a color you dye, that's pretty cool, man. I've seen so many colored hair dyes that just look awesome on people. So, Dave Video says, yeah, I have, and it felt terrible. Juan Speaks says, no. Hamish says, I feel so lost and lonely because I've not seen my friends since 2019. I hear you on that. Carter says, I was feeling lost during quarantine when my sister was going to college and I was nervous because I was next. Yeah, Carter, I hear you on that. Going to college but not really knowing what you want to do there can be super, super stressful. Everglow says, very. I feel it mixed with number 2. I wouldn't have tried to take my life so many times if I didn't feel that way. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. I hope you never try to take your life again. You're such a valued member of the community. There are people that care about you, man. I want you to really, really know that. Azim says, absolutely, when it comes to pursuing a degree and even what kind of content to put on my channel, always wanting them to connect in a way. Yeah, I hear you on that, man. And that's super, super stressful, right? Like you have this passion project you want to build out, but then you want to kind of also be a bit grounded and do something in college. And the ideal thing is like if they can overlap, but sometimes that's not always easy. Let's see. Cheesy says, hi, Josh. After lockdown, I will be taking my girlfriend out. Any suggestions for things to do and places to go? She likes music and she loves eating out. Yeah, Cheesy. I think once lockdown is done, people are going to want to, have concerts again. I think things will still be outdoors for the most part. So look up if there's local bands that you or her like that maybe are doing outdoor concerts. I think anything that's social. So if there's any kind of outdoor festivals that are going on, a lot of times what you may see is like, if you look online, try to follow like maybe different restaurants because sometimes restaurants will have events outside. Maybe there'll be like a music festival or a music event in like a food area or a food strip. I would definitely look for something that's, has music or some type of entertainment outside. If you want to DM me, we can probably talk a little bit more detail about that. But the Trinity says, let's see. Alexander Cole says, no, I used to, not anymore. Yeah, so some of you guys have found ways to manage it and get through it, and I think that's amazing. I'm so proud of you guys. Some of you feel like maybe you are still struggling, and that's okay too. Here are 4 questions I want you to think about and ask yourself if you feel like you're dealing with stress in those types of situations where you're feeling directionless or hopeless, you just don't know what you want to do. Question number 1, what am I good at or what do I enjoy? So asking yourself the simple question, well, what am I good at? What is something I excel at? Maybe I'm really good at math. Maybe I'm really good at playing guitar. Maybe I'm really good at, ice skating, singing, reading, anything. think about things that you're good at, because that could be a good direction to first explore when it comes to finding a direction for yourself. And also, what do you enjoy? What are some things you think are fun and look cool and something you want to try? Is there someone I can talk to for advice or direction? This harkens back to the one I said before, guys, that reaching out to a mentor or a teacher, or even if it's an academic advisor at school, they can help you start to explore new fields. Look, there are a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of cool things to try out and do. And you may not think of them off the top of your head, but they may be out there. So speaking to someone who has experience, they can say, hey, do you ever think about trying this? Or do you ever think about trying that? There are lots of great opportunities worth checking out. So reach out to someone that can give you a bit of advice or direction. Number 3, what small thing can I do to feel a little bit better? Look, when you are in a funk and you don't know what to do and you don't really have a direction, a lot of times other things start to go. Maybe you stop showering, or maybe your sleep schedule goes off, or maybe you become obsessed with social media. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do to feel better? Maybe that is, you know what? Let me try to fix my sleep schedule. Because if you have a better sleep schedule, it's easier to start to find a direction. Maybe it's a matter of, let me start communicating with friends. Maybe I've distanced myself from everyone. I haven't talked to them. Taking a small step is going to help steer you in the right direction. So think about a small step you can take if you feel that you're directionless. If it's, hey, you know what? I want to pursue this hobby and maybe make it a career. Maybe it's, you know what? Let me work on a script. Let me work on a YouTube video script. That could be a small step you can take to feel a little bit better. And the 4th one here is, am I saying no to things I haven't tried? Guys, a lot of times opportunities come to our door, but maybe we're too scared or we're not interested and we just shoot them down. I think that if you feel like you don't know where you're going or what you want to do with your life, the best thing you can do is to try things out. You know, like even if you don't like them, even if they fail, even if they just don't work out, you can try them, because that's going to give you a bit of experience and it's going to allow you to check something off the list and determine, you know what, that's something I'm not interested in. Let me see what else I can come across. Expanding and exploring your options is going to help you start to feel less stress and feel like you have a better sense of direction in your life, guys. Now, before I get into the 4th point here, I do want to say this. I mentioned it earlier, so I'll bring it up again. If you feel like where you're struggling in life is coming up with conversation topics or things to talk about, definitely check out my Icebreaker Conversation Starters. These are 20 conversation starters that I've written out where I've broken out a topic you can talk about, and then a follow-up topic, and then variations of that topic. So maybe a topic might be to ask them, what's your favorite movie, right? And a follow-up might be, when did you first watch that movie? And then a variation of that question might be, maybe instead of movie, maybe you ask them what their favorite book is, their favorite TV show, their favorite place to visit and when they go on vacation. So I think this guide is a great resource if you feel like starting conversations or keeping them going is something you're struggling with. I would highly recommend checking it out, guys. I also want to say that along with this free guide, I've written a book called Embracing the Awkward, where in this book, I walk you through, it's a guide for teens and young adults. If you're someone that's in college as well, it's good for you too. A guide for teens and young adults to succeed at school, life, and relationships. I feel like those are the 3 areas that most people have the most challenges with. In this book, I kind of break down my own experiences in life. I share some of my own personal stories, and I give some practical advice and tips that I follow myself on how you can kind of manage these awkward moments in life, whether it's figuring out what you want to do or talking to someone that you like or just dealing with stress. I think this book will be a phenomenal resource for you. And thank you so much, Jalen, for sharing the link. You only got to post it once, though, because I don't really want, I feel bad people might see it as spam. I also want to say this, guys. If you don't know what you want to do with your life, if you feel like you're pulling away, you should join our Discord community. It's an awesome place to make friends. It's an awesome place to meet people that are like-minded like you, that are working on being their best self. We just have a great community in there, people that are really caring and helpful with one another. It's just a fun and awesome place to be. Rage Master says, can embracing the awkward can be for older people? Absolutely, Rage Master. I wrote the book and I titled it and everything with the idea of teens in mind, but I share a lot of my own college life experience, and then even after that, my own figuring out my path and purpose in life. So I would say if you are between the ages of 12 and 27. I think that's a good bracket of people that can really benefit from embracing the awkward. Maybe even older, but I think that's generally where I kind of touch a lot of things. But guys, join the Discord. I think it's a phenomenal resource. It'll be super helpful for you. A great place to ask questions, to share what's on your mind, to just make friends. But on that note, guys, I want to keep moving forward here. If you haven't already hit the thumbs up on this video, guys, I really appreciate all of you watching, all of you hitting the thumbs up. We're 34 likes. Let's get this to 40 likes, guys. We can get this to 40. Cheesy, I'll check the admin chat. Maybe I haven't been there in a while, but I'll check it out. But let's keep moving on, guys. DS Cuber says, I'm on Discord, but nobody lives in Turkey. It doesn't matter if someone is my friend if I can't see them face to face. I hear you on that, DS Cuber. Yeah, it can be tough to supplement face-to-face interactions with online interactions. I think that the process of developing online friendships, one of my longer-term goals is to create communities in different cities and different countries and things like that, where people who share like-minded values of teaching kindness and care to another can kind of meet up. But I understand where you're coming from, DS Cuber. That can be really tough. Guys, let's move on to the fourth point here. We're talking about stressful situations that you need to know how to handle in life. These are all situations, guys, that if you encounter them, it's important to know what questions can you ask yourself to de-escalate your stress so that you don't feel overwhelmed, your body isn't mass-producing cortisol and driving you crazy. Situation number 4, guys. This is a hard one. Losing a loved one. I think a lot of us have been here. A lot of us have struggled with this before. Whether it's losing a parent or a sibling or a pet. Loss is something that no one can prepare for. And no matter how much you prepare for it, it always hits hard. It always hurts. You know, and dealing with the loss of someone can be super, super stressful. It can make you feel like you just don't know how to carry yourself forward. You don't know how to live your life now that this person is gone. So I want to jump in and talk more about this, guys. But first I want to respond to Hamish's £5 super chat. Hamish, thank you so much. Hamish said, Josh, Discord is a place where you can be you and not be judged. That's what I love about it. I totally agree with you, Hamish. You know, Cheesy is doing a phenomenal job in making it a loving and caring community. I really appreciate you, Cheesy, and all that you do. And everyone else that's in there too. I appreciate all of you guys for really trying. Like, I really I see a sense of care in wanting to make it a really special community. So Hamish appreciates it. I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for making what it is. And if you're not part of the community, you guys should definitely join. Just go to thejoshspeaks.com/Discord. And it's free to open to everyone. But Hamish, thank you for the $5 super chat, £5 super chat. I keep saying dollar. You're in the UK, man. Okay. But guys, we're talking about losing a loved one. We're talking about the stress that comes from that. And there's a lot of stress, especially when it just happens. There's this battle of having to come to grip with reality and the fact that this person is gone from your life, or this being, whether it's a pet or something, is gone from your life, and then having to manage everything, planning and organizing and speaking to family members and doing events. There's a lot that overlaps in that moment. It's a very chaotic moment when it happens, and it creates such a high amount of stress. There's a few questions I want you guys to think about when you're in those moments. And we'll jump into that in a second, but I want to do a chat poll here, guys, and ask you guys this. Have you ever lost a loved one? Yes or no? And if you have, who was it? Was it a grandparent or a friend or a pet or a sibling? Who's a loved one that you lost that you can think about and still sits with you and you still feel that deep sense of love for them? For me, I lost my father. I've lost my grandparents, and they've all been hard losses. They've all been hard to deal with, and they've all created high amounts of stress for me. And I wish that I had someone that can be there to help me and help me think about these questions, help me think about these things in life, as I'm trying to do for you guys too. But let's jump in and see what some of you guys had to say here. Let's pull it up. Here's what you guys had to say. I asked you guys if you've ever lost anyone. Nigel says yes. Jalen says yes. Carter says, my grandma's back is hurting and I want to help her out around the house, but it interferes with schoolwork also. How can I do both without getting a bad grade? Yeah, Carter, this is a tough one. When you have a elderly person that you have to kind of look after, but you're kind of also really struggling with, kind of balancing that in your day-to-day of schoolwork. I think one way to kind of do that is if there's anyone else in your house that can help manage that too. If all the work falls on you, I understand. But if there's someone that you guys can parse off responsibility to, that might be the best way. Austin says pets. What pets did you lose, Austin? What were their names? Jalen says family. Flame says my older brother. I'm really sorry to hear that, Flame. Hamish says, yes, I lost my great uncle. He was a World War II veteran. Oh, man. Salute him, man. And a test pilot. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. I'm sorry to hear that, though, Hamish. Annie says, my great-grandmother, but I was close to her. That's awesome, Annie. What was your great-grandmother's name? Jalen says, I lost my mom when I was just turning 12. Jalen, that must have been so hard for you, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. Carter says, sorry, I was restricted. Send a message on the other account. No problem. Trinity says, I lost my granddad a year ago on New Year's Eve. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Trinity. Everglow says, I've lost my brother, 2 uncles, my grandparents, my great uncle, my cat, and my fish. Everglow, you've dealt with a lot of hardship and a lot of loss in your life, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you know that there are people that really care about you still that are here today. Austin says, I was never close to my great-grandfather, but he died at 94. 94 is an old age. He lived a long, long life. Synchro says, yes, my grandmother last year. I'm sorry to hear that, Synchro. Rage says, I lost my crush over 10 years ago. I'm sorry to hear that too, man. Davidio says, I've had grandparents I've never met. Even the ones I've met, they've since passed away. Yeah, losing your grandparents is tough. It's so hard to deal with. I mean, for me, it was incredibly tough too. Alex Burns says, I lost my great-great-great-grandmother. Died a long time ago, and yes. Doctor says, sadly so. When I lost my grandpa in 2018, I was feeling a wide variety of negative and stress. Negative. He was feeling negative. Sorry about that. Negative and stressful emotions. Yeah, it can be incredibly stressful. Azim says, my grandfather died 2 days before Christmas in 2019. I'm sorry to hear that. Aaron says, my best friend Chris 10 years ago. Guys, I didn't bring this up to be a downer. I don't want you to feel like, oh, now I'm sad. This is a real stressful situation that occurs in life. We can't ignore that death is something that happens. So the best thing we can do is that when we are face to face with that, when we do encounter that tragic loss of someone that we love, how do we manage Negi? How do we manage those stressful feelings? How do we deal with them? Well, these are some questions that I think we can ask ourselves to help better manage that stress. First question is, who can I talk to and open up about my feelings with? When you're dealing with the loss of someone you love, having someone that you can turn to talk about that, to vent, to share, to cry with is so important. So I want you to think about that, guys. Like right now, ask yourself, who's someone in my life that I can talk to? Maybe it's not a family member. Maybe it's not a friend. Maybe you feel awkward sharing that with them. Maybe it's someone online that you know. Maybe it's a community. Maybe it's a meme, whoever it is. I think having someone you can talk to about what you're dealing with and what you're feeling with is going to be super, super helpful for you in processing that stress. Second question is, how can I best remember them in my daily life? This is a big one, guys. When you lose someone that you love, they're never truly gone as long as you can remember them and carry forward the values that they taught you in your day-to-day life. If that grandparent or that brother or that pet made you smile, if they showed you what kindness looks like, if they took time to listen to you and cared about you, how can you best remember them? By expressing those values, telling yourself, you know what, I'm going to share the values, I'm going to share the kindness that they shared with me. I'm going to put that out there in the world. Aaron Devlin says, crying is the best thing you can do to let it out. I agree, man. Sometimes it's important to cry. It's important to cry if you're sad if you're hurt, or you're angry. Crying is just a natural and normal and healthy response to dealing with stress sometimes. Third question is, am I feeling guilty or bad for feeling the way I do? Now, I threw this one in here, guys, because I think it's important too, because sometimes when we lose someone that we love, we're kind of caught in a state of shock, and we may not cry. We may not feel sad. We may not feel anything. And sometimes we might feel guilty about that. We might feel bad, like, is it wrong that I don't feel sad right now? Is it wrong that I'm not crying? And I want you to know that no matter how you choose to process it, it's okay. There's no right or wrong way to deal with the stress that comes from losing a loved one. The best way to deal with it is how you choose to feel and how you choose to process those feelings. So ask yourself, am I feeling guilty or am I feeling bad? Because that can cause stress. You might feel like, oh, people are looking at me and I'm not crying, therefore I'm stressed out. So recognize however you feel, it's okay. And the fourth one is, how has this changed my perspective on life? Sometimes when we experience the grief of loss, it changes our outlook on life. It might lead it more towards feeling like life is bleak, or it might make us feel more appreciative of the people we still have. I would hope that if you do encounter loss in your life, it can allow you to realize how crucial life is, how important it is, and how important the people around you are. So let that person who you've lost be kind of the awakening moment for you to realize, man, I want to show as much love as I can to the people that I care about while they're here, while I can tell them, while I can express it, because that's going to help you manage that stress a lot better. These are tough situations, guys. These are not easy things to deal with by any means. But I wanted to give you kind of a guideline here as we walk through them. We're gonna get into the fifth point here in a second here, guys. But I want to jump into the chat and hear what some of you guys are saying, because that I put that as point number 4 because I knew it's a heavy one. I wanted us to work up to it. I want to hear what you guys had to say. What are some of your thoughts on some of the things I just shared there? What are some of your thoughts on how you've chosen to process how you deal with emotions and feelings? I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'll pull up the menu here. Let's see. Trinity's asking a dating question. Rage Master says, I don't like funerals. Funerals are sad. Hamish says, I wish I could have stopped my friend from doing it, but I could not. I feel like it was my fault. I understand, Hamish. Sometimes when we lose people, we always reflect back and say, oh, what could I have done differently? How could I have changed things? Is it my fault? Sometimes loss is not our faults, but it is a moment for us to reflect on what we can do to help the people that we still have access to today. Rage says, don't forget to check out the Calm app. I think Calm app is a wonderful app. I agree with you, Rage Master. One of my goals for 2021 is to reach out to Calm and have them become a sponsor like I have. Sorry, I keep burping. Like I have BetterHelp as a sponsor on this channel. I want to have a few different sponsors and the things that I can be helpful. I could see as being helpful services for you guys. So Calm is on my list of people to really connect with. Jalen says, hi, Josh. I'm stressed and can't talk to my crush because COVID. I can't apologize. Yeah, I hear on that, Jalen. I know it's tough. Annie says, sending love to those who need it right now. Absolutely, Annie. I'm sending love as well to all of you guys who need it right now. But let's get into the fifth point here, guys. This is going to be the fifth stressful situation and how to deal with it. Oh, we're running a little long here. Let's go into it. The fifth stressful situation that you may encounter is struggling to feel accepted for who you are. This is a tough one, guys. This is a real tough one because, if you don't feel like people accept you, that can just create so much stress in your life. Maybe you are someone that has a certain hobby or interest that people think it's weird and you feel like people don't like you. Maybe you're someone that is LGBTQ and you feel like your family members don't understand you or they don't like what you're doing. Maybe you're someone who is religious and no one around you is and you feel like you're on an island by yourself. Or maybe you just feel like no one gets you. No one understands you. No one understands your sense of humor, what you like, and you just feel like you're alone. This is a tough one, guys. This can create so much stress if you feel like you're traveling this world by yourself. And I want you to really, really think about that. I want you to think about how that can create stress for you, how that can create barriers and hardships where you feel like there's no one that cares about you. And, I know a lot of you guys have experienced that before because you've reached out to me and you've told me that before, that you feel like people just don't understand you or people are judgmental towards you. And that's a sucky thing to go through. It's so hard. And I understand it's incredibly hard. But what I want you to really, really think about, and yeah, DS Cuber says, I think this is the hardest one. Yeah, DS Cuber, I agree. Because if you feel like people don't love you, it can also be hard to love yourself. And when you don't love yourself, that can create a whole world of just stress and anxiety and depression and just like feeling just at a total loss in life. If it's like saying you have a car with no engine, or you have we'll stick with the car with no engine. It's just it can't go. It can't go because you're missing that core piece, that love, that deep love for yourself to carry forward. So not feeling accepted for who you are is something that can be super stressful. And we'll jump into a chat poll here because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Have you ever felt like people didn't accept you for who you are? Yes or no? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Jump into the chat and share your answers. We got 33 people on here, 32 people. I want every single person to just share a yes or no. Just jump into the chat, write yes or no as to what you think. That question was, do you feel like people have you ever encountered people not accepting you for who you are? I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to jump over and say, I'm going to share my personal perspective too. I felt that way before. I felt like, I'll share an easy example. When I first started doing YouTube, I felt like no one really understood what I wanted to do. People were like, yeah, your videos are kind of weird and not interesting. And, it made me feel like, why was I doing this? No one cares about it. But I had to come to learn to accept that I care about myself. I care about what I'm doing, and that matters most. Victoria Lambert says, but sometimes you have to move on, but you can still remember they're watching over you. Absolutely. They love you no matter what. I asked you guys here, have you ever felt like people didn't accept you for who you are? Tones Cool says yes. Annie Smith says yes. Hamish says yeah. Austin says yeah. Tone says no question. Austin says, I'm sure most people have. I agree. Tone School says very, very, very yes. Adventures Command says yes. Carter says yes. Juan says definitely not. Synchro Legend says yes. Aaron says yes. Victoria said, if I hear anyone say that they are useless if I hear anyone say that they are useless in me, don't know what to do with their lives, they don't know what to do with their lives right now, I want you to take on that positive side, even though I don't really want you to, I want you to try. I hear you on that. Jalen says, let me go to the childhood characters, for example, Josh, or I know Barney, he is positive and always accepting. Yeah, Barney's a wonderful role model, Alex Brent says, no, I'm alone in this world. Jalen says, no. Everglow says, yes, I think I might be worthless. Carter says, I totally agree. When nobody talks to me or responds to my messages, it makes me feel that I'm annoying, that nobody likes me sometimes. I hear you on that, Carter. It can be incredibly frustrating when people don't answer you, or people leave you on red, or people just ignore you from a conversation. These are not easy things to you can't switch a light switch on and everything works. These are definitely things that we can work on by taking small steps. I'm always sharing it, guys. Everything is small steps. So these are all things that we can kind of actively work on. I'm going to share a few questions to ask yourself, guys. DS Cuber says, I've always been excluded. I feel like there are 2 or 3 boy types and I don't fit in any of them. DS Cuber, I'd love to have you as a part of our Josh Speaks community on Discord. I'd love to talk to you more in there. I know that you feel that way. I know you feel alone, but I want you to know that there's a community there that can help you, that can listen to you, that can, share their perspectives and offer advice as best as they can. Rage Master says, is hard to connect with people, especially if you have a disability. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I think that people that are struggling with mental health issues or disabilities or any kind of challenge in life that they're not living, let's say, this heteronormative life, do encounter this resistance and this struggle with other people. They do encounter this kind of judgment from others. So this can be one of the most stressful things we encounter, not being accepted for who we are. And I want to thank you guys also for sharing your answers in the chat poll. I really appreciate it. Let's jump in and think about some of the questions that you can ask yourself to help you kind of manage stress from not feeling accepted for who you are. Some of the questions I would recommend asking yourself are this: what can I do to love myself even if I'm not perfect? This is an important question to ask, guys, because a lot of times we strive to be perfect. We strive to have everything in order, everything is good about us, everything goes right, but none of us are perfect. None of us are, exactly what we need to be by society standards. We are just who we are. We are everything we bring to the table. We are ourselves. And that is what makes you lovable. Just you being yourself. Everything you've experienced, everything you think, everything you are is what's lovable. So what can I do to love myself even if I'm not perfect? Maybe the way to start is by recognizing that you can't be anything than who you are. And who you are is what's lovable. The second one here is, am I aware of the people that truly do care about me? Look, if you feel like there's no one in your life that cares about you, a lot of times we may not be thinking about the people that do. It's easier to feel shame from people that hurt us than it is to think deeply about the people that care about us, right? So one thing we can try to do to manage that stress is to really take a deep look and say, well, is there anyone that cares about me? Is there anyone that enjoys talking to me or is willing to have a conversation with me or is willing to invite me to things is there anyone that's excited when they communicate with me? I know that I can speak for myself here that there's so many of you guys that I love having conversations with. I love hearing your story. I love seeing your growth. I love just knowing that you are being your best self just in being who you are. So everyone from DS in here to Tone School to Annie Smith to Hamish to Victoria to Alex Burns to Music Man to Jalen to all of you guys. I appreciate you. Everglow. All of you guys are just, I care about you. And I know that there are other people that do care about you as well. And I want you to take time to really reach out and try to think about those people. Think about them. I know it's hard, but think about them being there. Third is, do I downplay my wins and compare myself to others? This is what Azim said before. I think a lot of times we downplay the things that we're good at, the things that we're succeeding at, and we compare ourselves to others. Look, guys, it is incredibly cool if you are someone that is kind. It is incredibly cool if you're someone that can take time to be a good listener. It is incredibly cool if you are someone that is caring towards someone else when they share something that they like. Those are wins. Those are things that you definitely should celebrate. But for some reason, we always feel the need to compare ourselves to others. We always feel the need to say, well, I'm not cool enough or popular enough or good looking enough or rich enough or smart enough. But we're neglecting our real wins, the things that make us better connect with people. Looks and fame and money and fortune, those get people's attention, but they don't help better connect us with people. And I know a lot of you guys have the skills you need that better connect you with others. That sense of compassion, that sense of kindness, that sense of care. So really, really focus on those and highlight that. Those are your wins. DS Cuber says, everyone knows that someone cares about us, but generally those people are our parents, and not many people like to talk to your dad or your mom. Yeah, I hear you on that. I agree with you, man. We know you care about us, Josh, and we love you for that. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, and like I said, we know that our parents to some degree care about us, and it's like you can't really communicate with them. Hence why I'm really, I'm sorry if I sound like I'm pushing it so much, but that's why I think our Josh Speaks community is a great place to make friends and talk to people, because you can meet other caring people. It's a place where I'm trying to create a community where caring people can come together. Everglow says, hey Josh, I'm trying to move on from a 5-year-long crush and I'm so depressed. I tried this time by carving her name on my wrist. I have no idea what to do. Everglow, I want you to really reflect on those behaviors. Reflect on that self-harm and ask yourself, how am I processing how I feel? And is how I'm processing and what I'm doing, is that something that's helpful or harmful? Carving someone's name into your wrist is harmful. So I want you to try to think of a positive behavior that maybe you can use when you are feeling that depression. Maybe that is doing 10 push-ups. Maybe that's putting your anger out and frustration into the keys on your keyboard. Just bang your keys like Mr. Rogers used to do. Bang your keys to let your frustration out. Play a song as loud as you can to get that frustration out. And the fourth point here, guys, how can I do, maybe I didn't word this correctly. What can I do to detach from needing others' approval? We spend a large part of our lives wanting other people to love us and care about us and needing their approval. But I think instead of wanting everyone to like us, it's way more important for a handful of people we care about to like us. It's way more important to have a few close friends that really, really care about what we have to say than 100 friends who just follow us on social media. But I want to dive a little bit more into that, but let me get to Hamish's super chat. Hamish, thank you again for the £5 super chat. Hamish said, Josh, do famous people like Robert Downey Jr., for example, feel like they aren't perfect? Hamish, you would be surprised. Every celebrity out there, every single celebrity out there deals with some level of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome basically is feeling like they're undeserving of where they are. Like they may say to themselves, a celebrity might say, I don't deserve this role. I'm not good enough for this. I'm not famous enough. I'm not cool enough. Every celebrity deals with that feeling of imperfection because they're human. Every person deals with that feeling. We always feel like we need to be perfect. We need to have everything in order, but that's not real. The best we can do is to offer our honest, genuine self in everything we do. So whether you're a celebrity or you're a normal person like you and I, those feelings of imperfection and wanting to be perfect will be there, but there are ways that we can cope and manage with them. And that's what I'm hoping we can by asking these questions, we can get through them. But thank you again for the £5 super chat, Hamish. You are on a roll, man. I got to put something up here that's like a flashing fire symbol to show who donates and stuff like that. But thank you again. So just wrapping up that fifth point here, guys. What can I do to detach from needing others' approval? One way you can do that is to really focus on a small quality group of friends, a small quality number of people that really care about you rather than a large swath of people that don't. Guys, we've been walking through 5 stressful situations in life and that I think are important to deal with, that are important to know how to deal with. And I hope the questions I shared are things you can ask yourself and things you can reflect on to help manage that stress. I'm going to go back to the original diagram here, guys. When you're dealing with stress can come from so many different areas of your life, politics and family and friends and work and all these different things. Your body produces this high level of cortisol, right? It's the fight or flight hormone. And if you are dealing with high amounts of stress, more than your normal day to day, that can lead to things like poor sleep or mood swings or anxiety or depression, and it can really put you in a funk. So let's walk through these 5 points again here, guys. Let's walk through the 5 points and review them so that you can know what stressful situations and how to deal with them. Situation number 1. Failing at something you've worked hard on. If you are trying to make a YouTube channel or trying to pass a test or trying to get into a college or trying to do something and you feel like you keep failing, that could be a stressful situation. And there are many different questions you can ask yourself to work through that stressful situation. And I think what it ultimately comes down to is, what is a small step I can take in this project that can maybe allow me to kind of do better next time? Or what's something I can try differently? Maybe I didn't do it right the first time. Maybe I can try it a little differently. The second one is this, guys. Second situation is getting rejected or broken up with. This can be super, super stressful because if you're someone that's dealing with heartache, You might feel like it's hard for you to do anything else because your heart hurts, right? You're sad, you're upset. So if you're someone that is dealing with that sense of getting rejected or broken up with, here are some questions you can ask yourself. I think that a lot of times when we're in a relationship or we like someone, we set high expectations because we have strong feelings for them. So one way to really process that stress and manage it is to recognize, hey, you know what? If they rejected me, if they don't want to be with me, let me take a step back. Maybe I didn't display myself as confidently as I wanted to, or maybe there's something I can do differently, or maybe I just need to take a break from dating. Maybe I just need to kind of relax for a bit. Situation number 3 is feeling hopeless and directionless. This can happen if you feel like you just don't know what you want to do with your life. You just don't know like how to carry yourself in a way that feels fulfilling. And this is a hard one, guys. This can lead to a deep state of depression if you just don't know what you're living for. So some questions that you can ask are these. If you feel like you just don't know where you want to go, maybe reach out to a counselor, maybe speak to someone who can help steer you in a direction to try something. But trying is the key piece. Allowing yourself to try something you've never tried before, to extend your reach and to do something different, because that might be all it takes to start to discover either what you like or what you don't like. Either way, the opportunity is there for you, so explore it. Situation number 4, guys, is losing a loved one. This is another tough one because, losing a loved one, I think ultimately, it's not an easy thing to go through. And what makes it so hard to deal with is the fact that, you can feel very overwhelmed in that moment, right? You're dealing with processing grief. You're dealing with letting people know, organizing a funeral. A lot of sadness can come from losing a loved one. So here are some questions you can ask yourself if you're dealing with that. Really think deeply about how this person has touched your life, how they've changed you for the better, what they've taught you, and how you can carry that forward by helping others as much as they have helped you. It's important to never let go of that person, and as long as you think about them and you carry those memories, you'll always hold on to them. And situation number 5, guys, is struggling to feel accepted for who you are. This is the toughest one to deal with because if you feel like people don't accept you, how can you ever carry forward? How can you ever carry forward and feel like what you say matters, what you do matters? It's super stressful to deal with. So here's what I would recommend, guys. These are different questions you can ask yourself. Look, you don't need other people's approval in life. You are special just the way you are. Everything you bring to the table, everything you've experienced makes you you. So learn to appreciate your imperfections. Learn to appreciate your quirks and your weirdness and your awkwardness. Learn to appreciate the wins that you bring in life. Think about the positive values that you share and count those as your success points. Not by comparing yourself to others, but by looking at what you bring to the table. You can only compare yourself to yourself, and that's where it should begin. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this live stream. This one went on a little bit longer, but I really wanted to go deep into these points because I think that there's definitely something to think about. Rage Master says, "I like you just the way you are." It's a quote from Mr. Rogers, and it's so true, guys. If you're new here, our mindful moments is a moment for us to stop and reflect on what we learned and what we talked about, what we shared in this stream. For all the people that shared personal stories and experiences, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being who you are. DS Cuber says, "You are the easiest person to talk with. I wish all people were like you." I hear you, DS Cuber. I think that, the way I am is something I've practiced, and I really try to practice day to day. I think any of us can practice kindness, can practice awareness, can practice compassion. It's something that we're all capable of. But what I want you each to do, I have my bell here. Now, if you're listening with headphones, you might want to be ready when I hit the bell because it's going to be kind of loud. But I want each of you to reflect on what we talked about in this stream. If there's a specific situation I mentioned that really hit home with you, that you said, yeah, that's what I'm going through, think about the questions that I shared and think about what you can do to move forward in being your authentic and real self. Life is going to be full of stress, but there are ways to manage that stress. I want to help you manage that stress. I have lots of videos and resources. We have our Josh Speaks community to do that. But for now, let's close our eyes and let's take 10 seconds to breathe in, to breathe out, and to think about how we're going to move forward in our lives and not let stress manage how we choose to live. We're going to take control of that stress. We're going to be our best selves. 10 seconds, guys. Let's warm up the bell. Warm it up. Yasmin, the streams will always be available. I always put them up. And you can check out the replay. Tomorrow I'm going to have the timestamps as well. So you can jump around to specific questions. It's 10 seconds, guys, to reflect. When you're feeling stressed out, one of the simplest things you can do is exactly that. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and breathe in and truly, truly feel the calmness within you. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this live stream. Right now, I'm going to jump over on Instagram. So if you want to keep this train moving, follow me over on Instagram at the Josh Speaks. I go live over there for our Instagram after party, so you can jump on there and video chat with me as well. If you're watching the replay, check out the resources over here where I'm going to talk more about dealing with stress. I hope those videos are helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this stream, and I'll catch you guys next time. As always, love and peace. See you guys then.